This is the Built for These podcast, episode 16. It's been 2 months since the last episode that I put out with Kirby and Dylan talking about automotive photography. Man, 2 months. It's crazy. I think there's a lot that I want to talk about, but I think the production end of things is why I don't put as much out. So I think for solo episodes, which I want to do more often, I'm just going to call it quits on the video as far as my beautiful face. Everybody knows what it looks like. You don't need to see me talking. When I interview other people or just do podcasts with other people, I'll definitely do video, but for the sake of putting out more stuff and covering the topics that I want to, I think I'm just going to do audio from now on. So, it's been 2 weeks. I'm back to work. I'm catching up from my trip to King of the Hammers 2020. King of the Hammers was started in like 2007 or 8, I believe. That's crazy because, that's like 13 years. So if you were born then, the kids that were born then are now getting their first jobs. That's how long that race has been going on. But to me, as like a super fan, it feels like just yesterday and it's like fresh in my mind. Even though I just went and saw it in person, it's still so new to me. It's so crazy. Like 13 years, 13 years, that's... In Massachusetts, 13 years, your car's only got 2 more years left before you can pass inspection with a check engine light on, and it's game on. I want to talk about my trip to King of the Hammers. There's 3 different aspects or views that I had from King of the Hammers, and I think that they should be discussed maybe on different episodes because their meanings are totally different. In other words, I kind of got 3 different experiences from one trip. The first thing is my experience with the racing end of things, helping Hack Shack Racing in the pits, but also trying to document everything and promote Falcon's role in the stock/streetable 4600 class. I think I want to cover this in like a race recap style podcast with John and Josh. That way we can kind of get their view of how it went and Josh's first experience as well out there. I think this is John's maybe 3rd time out there. But also I kind of want to share with them my experience and kind of how my experience as a super fan maybe affected my help in the pits in a negative way and how I think I could do better next year helping them out. But yeah, anyways, I think that's something that should be covered in hopefully an interview with John and Josh. I think they'd be up for that, especially once they hear this. Maybe they'll feel a little bit of peer pressure. The second view or like experience that I want to cover with King of the Hammers is the business end of things. I got to deal with brands that I sell and I work with, as well as the people in the race cars that represent their product. As far as the off-road industry goes, King of the Hammers is like the marketing gold mine. These companies that I work with, they get to shake hands and meet with and talk to not only their consumers and the people that buy their stuff, but also the businesses like me that install and retail their products. But also, while all that is going on, they not only get to shake hands and work with, but they get to put on display the race teams and the people that test their products to the absolute limit. But for this episode specifically, I kind of just want to go over my experience as a super fan / fanboy just overwhelming dream come true trip to King of the Hammers. Last week on Monday, after I got back from King of the Hammers, I made a post and I started out by mentioning how growing up poor has to do with the off-road community for me. It's crazy when you grow up poor, materialistic things aren't really that important. You're living off of, you're learning from, all your goals are kind of based off of the community that you have, because community isn't really, it's not a material thing. So when you're poor, you have community regardless of what kind of money you have or things you have. So my $500 Jeep that I got when I was just a kid, it was just something I stumbled upon. I rode BMX bikes and I kind of hung out in the woods a little bit, but by no means was I into off-roading or dirt bikes or anything of that nature. I mean, riding BMX bikes in the woods is the closest thing I can really compare it to. As an adult, I kind of see the relation now, and it's, of course, like I said before, it's community. But, when you have a $500 Jeep and all you care about is going in the woods and driving around and just enjoying the trails and having a community of people that enjoy it with you, regardless of their vehicle or the money they have or what they do for a living, is really cool. And just enjoying that thing together. It's really similar to BMX or skating or something like that. But, it had a huge effect on me. And it's funny because it kind of relates to this trip in a way. Because, I got that Jeep when I was probably 17. And by the time I was like 19, I started hearing about King of the Hammers. And it was in its early stages, but being from the Northeast, it's funny, Kirby, who's been on this podcast multiple times, me and him, when we were kids, before we even had our licenses, we used to talk about trophy trucks. We loved trophy trucks. We loved going fast, big horsepower, off-road, just crazy, driving the wheels off of it. But trophy trucks isn't really an obtainable thing here in the Northeast, especially for two kids that don't really have money or a means to even get into that kind of thing. We just don't have the land or the access to drive something like that. I mean, you could give a 20-year-old kid a trophy truck here and he can drive down the highway maybe, but there's nowhere to go drive something like that. So, by default, even if you like stuff like that, you kind of get pushed into the woods where there's trees and there's rocks and there's mud and you need a winch and you need four-wheel drive. And it doesn't really matter what you got for horsepower, to a certain extent anyways. So just in the middle of growing up like that and being in that situation, and then King of the Hammer started coming on. And it's a combination of the trophy trucks that me and Kirby used to dream about and talk about. But then they go from the desert, 100 miles an hour in the desert, and they duck into the rocks. And they're rock crawling and hitting trails like we have to out here. And just by default, but would seem like design to us as kids, they're doing everything we've ever dreamed of, and also things that we can relate to, all in one race. So the King of the Hammers for a lot of East Coast people is like, it's what we have and what we know combined with what we dream about and the stuff that we only see on the internet. It might sound super crazy to people for me to say that the King of the Hammers is a super life goal for me. But, during a very important time in my life, when I was becoming the person that I am, it was this race that popped up that was both everything I dreamed of and everything I know and everything I was experiencing as a growing adult in one race. Now, fast forward, 10 years since I heard of King of the Hammers, 10 or 11 years. Here I am 2 years into ownership of an off-road shop. And I'm doing well. I'm busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy that I don't have to worry about getting work anymore. And now I can concentrate more on why I got into this business in the first place. The reason I started my off-road shop is not because I like working on stuff, not because I want free parts or anything like that. The reason I started this shop stems from Truck Fest. Now, I was into rock crawling. I had friends into rock crawling and trails and stuff like that. And my friend John Simonik had a truck pulling / mud bog event in my hometown called Truck Fest. And now for like a year or two, I begged him. I said, man, let me set up some rocks. I'll bring my friends out. I guarantee you it'll be worth it, blah, 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 blah. And, I don't know. He didn't know off-roading or rock crawling or anything like that. So what he thought, I don't know. He never really considered it too much. And I'm not really sure what changed his mind. But eventually he gave in, and he said yes. And he set us up in a field, just gave us a square to put rocks in. And we set up this 200-foot course of just old construction material, concrete tubes and blocks. And we called all our rock crawling friends to come out. And it ended up being like a crowd favorite. And from that point on, I don't know what it was, but I knew, I don't know, I thought it was that event specifically that I wanted to be part of. And I treated it that way. And from then on, man, I probably just annoyed John with marketing ideas and promoting the event and blah, blah, blah. But Truckfest eventually, I believe in 2017, came to an end permanently for more than one reason. But it was after that I realized I just wanted to be more involved with the off-road community. And I thought at the time I was a mechanic. I already kind of had a name in the off-road world locally as far as a decent customer base for side work as a mechanic. So I thought the best way to get into the off-road community was to use what I had at my fingertips, which was start a shop, an off-road shop. And that's what I did. And 2 years later, here I am. I'm quite busy. I'm very busy, actually. And I'm now realizing that I'm going to be able to start maneuvering this business to get more involved with the off-road community and industry. I got into the off-road industry because I wanted to build the off-road community and industry in the Northeast. Not because I wanted to drive work into my shop. That is a part of it, and that's how I'm able to do it, and that's how I thought I would be able to enable myself to be part of it and promote things. But for example, this podcast, I want to interview every off-road shop that's within 150 miles of me. I want to interview different mechanics or fabricators and things like that specialize in different things. That's going to promote people to go out and build more stuff, whether it's with me or with somebody else. I don't care. I just want to build up the industry. I like promoting good products. I like helping people out and taking care of them and making sure they don't buy the wrong things or install the wrong things. I like promoting good off-road events that are worth going to, taking your family to, towing your rig an hour and a half to, paying good money, spending the weekend. I really love events. Event promotion is really important because we have so many events that people think are worth loading their rig up, taking a half day on Friday from work, taking their family and their rig and their trailer full of food and a grill and tents and spending 2 nights somewhere and paying good money to attend this event and go off-roading all weekend. We have so many of those events throughout New England that I think everybody should do their best to promote them and give them the spotlight that they deserve, because as somebody that likes going to those events, money that you pay for your spot is just not enough. Like, though I'm both somebody that attends these events, but I'm also somebody that used to host one, and I think that the money you pay for your spot is just not enough. And it's really not what these people are looking for. I mean, the money that you pay to stay at Field and Forest Recreation Area for the weekend and to use their crazy trails, their beautiful campsites, and meet with all the people that attend that place, the money, I mean, it can't even cover the bills to accommodate you. Those people just want the respect and the recognition for what they're doing for their property, for their community, and things like that. And I think it's important that people that are capable of it get out there and show that. Now you kind of got a good aspect of kind of what I'm into, why I got into this business, the things that I enjoy about this business. It's crazy. People keep asking me, they're like, oh, how was the trip? And I think they're expecting all these stories out of me. But the answer I keep giving people, and I think this really is the truth, they ask, oh, do you have fun? I don't think I had fun. There's just too much going on in my own brain to have fun. Like I said earlier in the podcast here, and I'll try not to run over it too much again, but it's literally everything I've ever dreamed of in one race. And it's not just a race. It's an event where the entire off-road industry is there and they are involved with. It's everything I could dream of. It truly is. In my recreational life, it's literally everything I could dream of. So, I'm flying out there, and it's so crazy that I'm even flying there. And I get there in the middle of the night. And my Uber will only take me halfway down the desert road to get to Hammertown, which is fine with me. I brought ski goggles and a face mask on the plane with me, knowing that I would probably be walking through the desert to my camper that my friends had rented. I got there. I went to bed. I got there Sunday night. I went to bed knowing that I had 5 days ahead of me of a dream come true. I went to sleep. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, got dressed immediately before everybody else, grabbed my video camera, went out and started taking video. Little did I know the next 5 days would be followed by the same exact routine, and my feelings would never change about where I was and what I was doing. The first day, everybody woke up. We kind of went through Hack Shack's Jeep, just got it ready. Everybody fueled up, and we went out pre-running the rock trails. I thought, oh, great, I'll come, and I get to get a bunch of footage of, John rock crawling with the Falcon mud terrains. I'm still in my business mindset, kind of. It hasn't settled in yet that I'm at King of the Hammer. So the sun comes up, everybody eats breakfast. I've already done my rounds. I've seen Hammertown. The sun's rising. It's crazy. But also I know it's time to get in the Jeeps and go. So we go out pre-running. That's all good. End up stuck out in the rocks for 8 hours because one of the rock crawlers broke. And, that's a story in itself that maybe we'll talk about in the race recap. podcast. But we get back, and I take some video of the pits and everything, and then I realize, I'm like, I've been here for 24 hours, and I haven't seen anything outside of this pit. So I take off, I walk around, I see all the other race teams, I walk through all the pits, or so I thought so. And, yeah, man, just so overwhelming. Every single race car that I've been following for over 10 years is in the pits with me. We're doing the same thing. Me and those people are doing the same thing. They traveled, they got all their friends and family there, and they're trying to do one thing, and it's to get their race car to make it through this race without breaking and hopefully finish. And if they finish, hopefully they finish well. But the goal is to just finish this crazy race. And some of these people are just like us. They drove from across the country. Some of them are local, but everybody's there for the same reason. And it's every single race team that I've ever followed on the internet ever. It's so crazy. It's so crazy to walk around and see that, and see the sunrise, and see everybody getting up at the same time I am to do the same things and just be part of it. And all it took was a plane ticket and some friends. So, King of the Hammers week consists of many different events, different races, things like that. Our race was on Wednesday, the Everyman Challenge, where I was helping out in the pits, or supposed to be helping out in the pits. They never even made it back to the pits, so I was not of much help. But other than that, every single day consisted of waking up at 5:30, grabbing my video camera, and walking through the same or a different part of Hammertown / King of the Hammers. The first 2 days, I only made it through the pits and Hammertown. I didn't have a vehicle to drive. I flew there on a plane. I didn't arrange to have something to drive, so I didn't see anything outside of that area, although it had taken me those 2 days to cover that area. So I just really didn't even it didn't cross my mind to go beyond that area. And I think it was like Wednesday afternoon, or maybe even Thursday morning, I ventured past Hammertown out into the camping area, and I found areas where there's even more people that I've dreamed about seeing or meeting, or even just seeing their vehicles. I'm like a mile out into the camping area, and I see a BFG tractor trailer truck with race cars at it. I don't know. They must have ran out of room in the pits, or ran out of room in the vendor area, or maybe that was just out there to service customers. I'm really not sure. But, you're walking, and there's an RV and an RV and an RV and a rock crawler and a rock crawler and a rock crawler, and then all of a sudden you see a tent and it's full of laser nut buggies. I mean, laser nut buggies. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. Laser nut on Instagram. You will not be disappointed. I was just casually walking through the camping area, and I saw Harry Situations on Instagram. He's a photographer in the off-road world, and I just see his Ford there with some Baja tires on it. I'm like, what am I? I'm just walking, drinking coffee. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Every morning I found myself at Clutch and Coffee / food truck, and every morning I would meet someone different. One of the mornings I just found myself standing there talking to Ian Johnson. I mean, Ian Johnson is somebody that I've been watching on public TV since I was a little kid on Sundays, watching Extreme 4x4 or whatever it was called on Spike TV. It's crazy. And then I'm just standing there drinking coffee with him in the desert. It's so bizarre. It's so crazy. So crazy. I mean, there was people at this event that you just don't realize it until you're there face to face with them. Back in like MySpace days or early Facebook days when you would just add somebody because there was a rock crawler in their Facebook profile picture. You didn't know them, you had no mutual friends, but oh, you got big tires, you're in the woods, I'll click add. Wasn't creepy or weird or anything like that. And there's certain people in the industry that I've been friends with so long on social media that have gotten huge, but we've been friends for so long that we still communicate. I don't know. It's just weird. It's crazy. I'm a fanboy, and I kept saying that to Cam, who was with us in the pits. I kept telling him, I gotta go, man. I can't just sit here. I'm gonna go fanboy out on some stuff. I kept saying that, and I wasn't kidding. I was out fanboying, just seeing stuff, shaking hands, talking to people, talking to companies that I sell parts for or do business with some way or another. It's crazy. Or people I had questions about products. Everybody was there. Everybody. And it took 3 days for me to realize that everybody wasn't in the vendor area. I don't know if it's too expensive or they keep it confined to a certain size, but you venture out into the camping area and there's just random companies set up shop out in the camping area. I don't know. Or maybe they were just, I don't know. This event's such a big deal. Maybe they were just there attending and they brought their rig. I don't know what it is. I heard at one point Yukon Gear and Axle was there, but they just weren't in the vendor area. They were out in the middle of nowhere, camping and wheeling. That's it. Yukon Gear and Axle. It's like the biggest name in gears, and they weren't even in the vendor area. They were just out in the event somewhere. That's so wild. I was at the event, and if you searched hashtag koh2020, while I was there, I was seeing vehicles and people that after 3 days I had not even come across. It's so crazy how big this event is in this desert lake bed that is usually just sand, rocks, and wind. But for this week, it's the 4x4 Central of the world. It's so bizarre. And the thing that's even more bizarre is that I was there. I really, to this day, I don't even know what to make of it. I think I have to go back probably 3 more times to even get a grip of what it was. There's so many different aspects to this event that you just can't experience it all in one shot. I mean, I got a small taste of being in the pits and being on the race end of things, and I think that would take another trip or 2 to even get a full experience of that. But then there's the recreation side of it. I can't even imagine showing up, setting up shop in the camping area, bringing a wheeling rig, and then just off-roading and spectating for 5 days straight. That's a whole experience in its own that, just like the racing end of it, I feel like would take probably 2 or 3 more trips to even get the full experience of. And then, if you get the full race experience and then you get the full spectating experience, well, maybe there's a business end of it. I love marketing. I love making videos. I love interviewing people. Maybe I could be doing business there. And I'm sure once you get started with that, that's an endless waterfall of trips. I'm sure that could just go on forever. I'm sure that work is just endless. I think that this event is outgrowing itself. I think it's growing bigger and bigger each year, just bigger than it can even contain. There's no documenting this event. There's no way to document it. It's so crazy. It takes multiple years to, I don't know. I've always watched it live, and just the racing aspect of it is so bizarre. It's so vast. And there's so much involved with it. Just the racing end of it's crazy. I had no idea that there's a spectator end of things. There's just a being there end of things, as well as the racing end of things. And I think in a future podcast with John and Josh, kind of in the race recap style podcast I want to do. I kind of want to talk about that some more because I think those different aspects and me being overwhelmed and not knowing what to do with them took away from my job and purpose as somebody that was supposed to be helping out in the pits and coordinating things. I think there's a lot of things I could have done. I think there's a lot of things I could have done for Hack Shack Racing if I wasn't so overwhelmed with all of these other things that I think that me myself can do, or even I can just suggest and help them organize for someone else that helps them if for some reason I can't make it out there again consistently or next year or whatever. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a different podcast. I don't want to drag this one out too long. I just wanted to cover in this podcast kind of just a little perspective of how King of the Hammers was super important to me, how overwhelming it was, the different aspects of it. And I just cannot. It's going to take so much dragging on for me to explain what this event meant to me. It's so crazy. It was a dream come true. I'm so glad I went. I'm so glad that all the people that helped out, I couldn't have done it without all my friends that were out there anyways from the Northeast. I couldn't have done it without the brands that I work with and I talk to on a regular basis. I'm so grateful for everything that happened that week. I'm so grateful that I was even there. So grateful for all the opportunity and the people I met and talked to. And I cannot wait to do more and hopefully do better with all that opportunity. I think this first year I had an excuse of just being overwhelmed with like a dream come true experience. And I think that I can really capitalize on the opportunity that event has in the future, both in the industry end of things and the racing end of things and documenting, filming, and content end of things for myself and my business. King of the Hammers 2020 was definitely a dream come true for me. I said it in the post I made the Monday after I got back that I'm sure this feeling is similar to what people feel after they win the lottery. It's kind of like you get all the money you ever wanted, you get to buy everything you ever wanted, and then you're just kind of like, you can't believe it's real, and you don't know what to do with yourself. It's kind of like me, except I came home super grateful. And it's one crazy thing that I did not see coming. I all of a sudden was plopped in the desert, surrounded by everything I ever dreamed of. Every vehicle, every person I've ever followed or watched, every race team, race car, every brand or product I've ever wanted to see, every vehicle I've ever wanted to build, all of it. I was surrounded by all of it. And midweek, I just found myself thinking, man, how lucky am I? I have an off-road shop. I have the coolest Jeep. I have a great tow rig. I got a brand new trailer. I got a beautiful family that goes out and enjoys these things with me. All I want right now is to be with my family, enjoying the things I already have at home. It's so crazy. So crazy. I don't even understand how that works. I'm in the middle of the desert in California, in a place I've always dreamed about going, and all I could think about was how great my life is back home and how grateful I am for it. Crazy how that happens. Really is crazy. And you know, I think that kind of makes me realize in the Northeast, I think I'm going to start something called winter boredom. There's certain activities that just, for some people, the cold makes it maybe not enjoyable or just not the same. going off-roading in the cold and in the winter is just not the same game as going out in the summer. You know, it's you have a lot more care for if things break. You have a lot more care for if things go wrong. You know, and I find myself kind of slacking on pushing to go out off-roading and things like that and being outdoors in the wintertime because it's not as laid back. It's not it's more of a serious thing. And I think what winter does is it gets you bored of the great life that you have just because it's a little bit more difficult. But all it took was a few days in the desert doing everything I ever dreamed of to just sit back and think, man, I got it made at home. You know, I just can't wait to go home and do the things that I have within my reach right in front of me all the time. I just can't wait to do it. Even though it takes a little bit more effort because it's wintertime, I just can't wait to get back there and do it. And I hope that I keep that in mind from here on out during the winter months because we really do have it made in the Northeast. It is really great here. We have everything you can dream of. And I don't know. That's kind of it's kind of the craziest thing I got out of the King of the Hammers. I mean, it's got to be close to what it's like for somebody that hits the lottery. I mean, you get everything you think you've ever wanted, and then you realize what's really important in life. And I think that's kind of, I put King of the Hammers on this pedestal, which it deserves to be, and it still is, but being there and experiencing it, all I could think about was what I have and how cool my life really is, how I couldn't wait to get back to it. So, I'm sure family plays a big role in that, but also family makes everything more fun. And I'll say this, I don't know how or if it's even possible, but I really don't want to go anywhere without my family for more than a couple days again. That was a little bit too much for me, probably. But, if that's true, I'll find a way and I'll get them out there. Thanks for listening to me babble on about a dream come true and my time at King of the Hammers. I think that everybody needs to go. If you like off-roading, even remotely, you got to get out there. Everything from overlanding with a rooftop tent to trophy trucks to Class 11 Baja Bugs to rock crawlers. Everybody needs to go for any of the three reasons that I'm talking about. This is the most recreational, kind of thoughtful reason on this episode that I talked about. I think it's enough to sell you on it, but if it's not, listen to the race recap that hopefully I con Josh and John into doing with me. And then followed by that, hopefully I'll get with another person in the industry, another off-road shop person or something like that to talk about the business end of things. But you have to get out to King of the Hammers if you care about off-roading. I mean, a plane ticket and pitching in on an RV with your friends is nothing compared to the experience you get out there. You need to do it. And if you do, hopefully I see you out there because I plan on going back many times in my life. So thanks for listening, and make sure you catch the next one. Hopefully I interview somebody, do a sweet video, and look forward to more of these solo podcasts, just audio. And if you really need to see my beautiful face, I'll start making videos. Thank you.